The message of this book is grim. The last 100 years were the deadliest in recorded history, but the next century may be even deadlier. In The Race to Save Our Century, John Zmirak and Jason Jones lay out the reasons genocide and total war, eugenics and totalitarianism were able to triumph over the principles of humane civilization.
And they came about because modern secular philosophy had undermined the core principles of the moral law that the judeo-christian civilization had relied upon for centuries.
That allowed a culture of death to flourish in a century where governments committed mass democide and murdered more than 133 million of their own citizens. If you think you and your country are too civilized to commit such barbarism, consider how average folks all around you have killed more than 56 million of America's most vulnerable citizens through abortion.
And abortion, I would say, is the rock foundation of the culture of death.
Co-author Jason Jones says that violence in the womb cannot help but spread out beyond the womb.
If we don't see full legal protection for the human person from the moment of biological beginning through natural death, you can expect your children or grandchildren to die in a gulag and to die in a concentration camp.
Jones doesn't believe this just because of his study of history. He feels it deeply in his bones, because for Jones, this is incredibly personal. As he puts it, he didn't come to the abortion issue, it came to him. It started 2 days before his 17th birthday with a visit from his high school sweetheart.
She came over to my house and woke me up with the words, "I'm pregnant."
They plotted in secret. He'd join the Army 2 days later and soon be supporting their little family. But while he was at basic training, she called him weeping uncontrollably.
And then her father said, "We know your secret now and you can come home, it's gone. We took Katie to get an abortion."
Jones went wild and screamed at his commanding officer.
Call the police, he killed my baby. He said, "Private, why would I call the police? Don't you know that abortion is legal?" And do you know I didn't?
That same day, the young Army enlistee made a pledge to his girlfriend that has steered his entire life.
"Katie, I promise you, for my child, that if it takes me the rest of my life, I'm going to end abortion in America."
Jones and Zmirak believe the culture of death that allows abortion is the same one that leads to genocide, ethnic cleansing, and governments murdering their own citizens. But before that culture of death overwhelmed the world 100 years ago, Zmirak said most mankind believed, like people today, that civilization was on an upward trajectory.
Everyone thought that the 20th century would be an era of peace, progress, international tranquility, and wealth. And then one archduke got shot in Austria and 20 million people died. And then 20 years later, that war laid the groundwork for another war in which 60 million people died.
In The Race to Save Our Century, these authors lay out several core principles they believe can save the world from a vast bloody rerun. It starts with accepting the infinite dignity and worth of each human person. As the authors put it, we must reaffirm the founding truth of humanism, that every human being is important, unique, and dignified. He or she deserves the same reverence we demand for ourselves. Next,
the existence of a transcendent moral order that is higher than any secular law, which can tell you that segregation or abortion or apartheid is intrinsically evil regardless of what the Supreme Court or the dictator or the secret police says.
The authors declare the Supreme Court basically threw out this transcendent moral order and made man the ultimate authority when it said in a 1992 abortion case it was up to each human to decide what is life and death. The court wrote, "At the heart of liberty is the right to define one's own concept of existence, of meaning, of the universe, and of the mystery of human life." So much for godly authority. If you decide a human's not a human, then they're not. Among the other core principles to save humanity and liberty is trying to get back to small, decentralized government that's both responsive and accountable to its citizens, not the kind of government that butts into everyone's lives, tries to solve every problem, meet every need.
The wiper of every runny nose, because when the government grows and steps into those roles, it invariably exerts control over people, and then you don't have a free society anymore.
In the last century, vicious dictators like Mao and Stalin could squash the freedom of hundreds of millions and slaughter tens of millions. But the high-tech world ahead will allow future tyrants near total computer-controlled domination of their citizens. And it'll give future warriors weapons that could actually exterminate all mankind.
The next world war is going to be much shorter and immensely more violent. It's unimaginable. To think of World War III is actually unimaginable.
That's why Jones and Zmirak say we so desperately need a race to save our century. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.